is the mystery horse, and I'm gonna ride him.
Alec, that horse is not the mystery horse. And even if you were, you're not gonna ride him.
It was a secret. I told you as soon as I could.
You're not supposed to keep secrets from your mother.
The Black Stallion, the classic story of a boy and his horse, one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this time on Sneak Previews. And across the aisle from me is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And this is Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. Now, in addition to the Black Stallion, we'll also take a look at Tatum O'Neal and Christy McNichol in Little Darlings, Alan Arkin in a new comedy called Simon, James Caan searching for his missing children in Hide in Plain Sight. But first, Roger begins with Little Miss Marker.
And Little Miss Marker is an old-fashioned remake of an old-fashioned movie classic based on the Damon Runyon story about a bookie and a little girl in the world of horse racing. The original Little Miss Marker was made in 1934, and it starred Shirley Temple in her first starring role. The new version has a little girl who looks totally unlike Shirley Temple, and she's even smaller. Her name is Sarah Stimpson. She's 6 years old, and her co-stars in the movie are a couple of old pros named Walter Matthau and Julie Andrews.
Watch out for the chicken. Watch out. Come on.
Isn't he beautiful?
Who, the horse? Well, if he wins, he's beautiful. Up to then, he's just a horse.
I think he's beautiful.
How do you know? You're a kid.
Hi.
Hi. How nice, both of you, too.
Well, I had business.
Can I pet him?
But very gently. He can be nervous before a race.
Watch out, though. Not near the mouth.
He won't bite. It was nice of you to bring her. I know you had business. In that case, I'd like to make a bet.
On him?
He'll be 30 to 1. Are those odds too steep for you?
Lady, I live off people who bet at those odds.
Well, he's ready this time. There's no other speed in the race. He'll be out in front and all alone.
Lady, this horse has no speed and quits.
He never quits.
I looked up his races. He'll have a hard time coming in last. All right, how much you want to bet?
$100. Make it 2.
It's your money.
Are we going to watch the race now?
Absolutely.
$200, Sir Galahad.
Why did you look up his races?
I look up races all the time.
Nothing personal.
What's personal? A horse is a horse. Watch out for the chicken.
She has the biggest dark eyes. What's a little girl like that doing hanging around with a bookie anyway? Well, her father leaves her with Matthau as collateral on a racing bet, as a marker. Then her father doesn't turn up again, and Matthau is stuck with her and also with the possibility of kidnapping charges. Some of the movie's best scenes involve hard-hearted Matthau getting softened up by this sweet little girl.
Want a donut?
Yes, please.
Or you want some cornflakes?
Yes, please.
Yes, please, what? Which?
What kind of donut?
Kind with a hole in it. What do you mean, what kind?
Sugared?
Listen, kid, this isn't a restaurant. They're plain.
I like jelly donuts, don't you?
You want a plain donut or do you want cornflakes? Make up your mind.
Can I have both?
It's interesting how by underplaying that scene, Matthau gets a real nice gentleness into it. Oh, I described Little Miss Marker a moment ago as an old-fashioned movie, and I'd like to go on and say it's also corny, goofy, sentimental, obvious, unsophisticated, and so needless to say, I liked it. Most of all, I like Mathau's performance as another one of those shambling, hangdog, sad-eyed characters he's so good at playing. And I also like Little Miss Stimpson as Little Miss Marker, even though, as Damon Runyon might have said, another Shirley Temple she ain't.
Sorry. Big disagreement here.
I know she's shaking your head.
Yeah,
though.
no, I don't care for the film at all. I'm very disappointed in it, and I'm a big Walter Matthau fan, but he doesn't have anything to play against in this picture. The little relationship with the girl has one note, and we just saw it in that donut sequence, which is tough Walter Matthau, cute little girl. Okay, after about 5 minutes, we want something more. So we look to Mathau's relationship with Julie Andrews, and that's where the film falls right in the toilet as far as I'm concerned. And I mean that. Julie Andrews is nothing in this picture. I don't know what's going on. There doesn't seem to be a performance. She seems to think she's still doing Mary Poppins. Absentatively.
Absentatively, yeah.
It's terrible.
Well,
This is Damon Runyon, tough
okay,
Damon
Gene,
Runyon.
okay.
Where is she?
Yeah. Well, I agree with you on Julie Andrews. She doesn't belong in this film. It's a Damon Runyon film about tough people at the racetrack. Somebody like Shelley Winters should have played Mathau's girlfriend. That would have been good casting. She's out of place, but I do like the movie, generally speaking. I don't think it's the greatest movie ever made, but it's entertaining, it's fun, it's pleasant to watch, and I think a lot of families would enjoy going to see it.
I don't think so, Raj, because I think all that we get is ultimately Walter Matthau, a fine actor working alone, and we just watch him alone. He has nothing. There's just missing. The story has no guts to it at all.
Okay, you think the movie is a complete loss. I think it's worth seeing. We disagree. Let's go on.
Okay. You may not have heard of the name Marshall Brickman, but undoubtedly you have heard of some of the films he has written together with Woody Allen. Annie Hall is one of them, Bananas is another, and they both won Academy Awards for both pictures. Brickman's new comedy, Simon, is his first solo effort, and as you might expect, it's only about half as funny as a Brickman and Allen comedy. Alan Arkin plays an innocent college professor being used as part of a practical joke by a bunch of goofy but brilliant scientists who want to fool the world into thinking that Arkin is really a creature from another planet. But first they have to win his confidence, so they introduce him to a woman, Madeline Kahn, who bowls Arkin over with her academic credentials.
Oh, well, that's not, I need somebody with a very eclectic background, a solid foundation in all the sciences, some literature and philosophy. What's your field?
Well, I have an MD from Johns Hopkins, PhD from Cambridge in behavioral psychology, master's from the Sorbonne in contemporary French literature.
Oh, my God.
Particularly the absurdist, Sartre, Camus.
Yes, I read many.
My undergraduate work was completed at Swarthmore, 2 years, summa cum laude.
Mon Dieu. Yes.
I've worked with Kiplinger in Vienna, Olafson in Stockholm, Epstein in Geneva.
Yes.
Of course, you're familiar with his work on pineal gland biorhythms and acetyltransferase activity in chickens and rats.
Yes, Epstein and rats. Epstein and rats and chickens.
My new book, entitled A Comprehensive History of Oral Sex Techniques Illustrated, has already been proclaimed a masterpiece by both Norman Mailer and Bess Meyerson, and has an advanced printing of 100,000 copies.
Who's your publisher?
Knopf.
Let's try it out. We'll try it out for a week.
After Arkin has been won over by the scientists and his defenses are down, they brainwash him, but they do it so well that Arkin completely loses his memory. He doesn't even know he's part of the human race anymore. He has the mind, suddenly, of a little amoeba. And in the film's best scene, we see Arkin regain some of his memory as he portrays the stages of mankind's development, everything from a tiny little amoeba to the first ape that walked the earth.
What's he doing?
He's regressed completely.
Regressed to where? Infancy?
No further than that. About 500 million years. Every human brain carries the memory of all evolution. He's been through the entire evolutionary chain. Has to find his way back. Now see, he's a tiny sea organism. Plankton.
What's he doing now?
That's a jellyfish. Jellyfish.
Look at that, Carl. We've got flippers and fins here. Now he's starting to swim.
reference to the beginning of 2001. It's amazing how many pictures keep referring back to 2001. That's a cute bit, very cute. But the rest of Simon, not that good, not even close. Most of it is just a rehash of Woody Allen-style jokes, you know, the ones that mix the cosmic with the trivial, ones about where is God, complaining about that along with complaining about piped-in music and elevators, all in the same breath. Simon is just jokes, not much of a movie.
Gene, I'm in basic agreement with you. It's really not a very good comedy. I will make two provisos, though, in case people do happen to go see it. First of all, the second half is not really as funny as the first. It starts out so well that you have higher hopes for it than it realizes. Ends in kind of a routine comic chase that we've seen many times before, as if Brickman ran out of ideas. And the second thing is, now you mentioned Woody Allen. This movie has Alan Arkin in it. Alan Arkin is a good comic actor. He plays a character here. He plays a Columbia University professor, and there are a lot of nice touches in the way he handles the character. So it's a good performance, not only in the scene we just saw, but also all through the movie, and yet still, I agree, it's not successful.
And I think the reason it doesn't work is the same thing I was getting at in Little Miss Marker. There's no central core relationship. Madeline Kahn is cute in her bits alone. Arkin is cute in his bits alone. They never get together. We never care about them as a couple. And that's, of course, what Woody Allen and Marshall Brickman made when they made their films together. In Annie Hall, a great central relationship. Also in Manhattan, another nice relationship. Here, we don't care about the people. The jokes stand alone. The jokes fall flat after about an hour.
It has that curious phenomenon as the kind of comedy where you come out and you tell your friends some of the one-liners, and it sounds like a better comedy than it is.
That's right. Only the one-liners exist there.
You know, as nearly as I can remember from way back in the dim, distant past, when I went to summer camp, the high points were playing volleyball, swimming all the way across the lake, and complaining about the bug juice. But the teenagers in a new movie called Little Darlings have a lot more to write home about. Little Darling stars Tatum O'Neal and Christy McNichol as two 15-year-old girls who first of all declare themselves to be arch enemies, and then they make a big bet to see which one will lose her virginity first. But when they're not flirting with boys, they take the time to engage in more traditional summer camp activities, like a food fight.
Oh, so sorry. I just have to get a napkin right over here. Oh, God. How awful. Here, let me clean it off.
That's
Sorry.
okay, really.
Oh.
It was an accident. It was an accident.
Sorry.
Look.
That is really funny.
Yes. Come on. You guys. That really puts me off.
Next comes the main event, seeing which girl can be the first to seduce a boy. Here's Christy McNichol giving it a try.
What's your name, anyway?
Me?
Yeah, you. I know my name.
Yeah, what is it?
Angel. But don't let the name fool you.
Who's fooling who?
You're drunk.
You're cute.
Still haven't told me your name yet.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's Randy. Don't let the name fool you.
Little Darlings is a hard movie to review. It's not especially well made. It's awkward. It's too talky. I really can't recommend it. But it is a fairly sensitive consideration of the very delicate business of teenage sex. It has some moments of truth. It has some thoughtfulness. And silly and dumb as it is, a lot of the time, at least Little Darlings isn't as much of a cynical exploitation picture as that ad campaign would have you believe.
Yes, it's not wholly bad, but again, I think what we have here is a sense of disappointment because we know this picture could have been a lot better. Two very good young actresses talking about a very interesting subject, but they don't talk enough. I mean, the subject is fascinating. Teenagers being stampeded into sex because peer pressure, and they think what they're supposed to do. Well, let's have these actresses talk about it instead. Instead of that, they give us food fights, people putting frogs in people's things, throwing things around, a silly meatballs kind of summer camp comedy. This could have been so much more. Instead, they tried to make two different movies and hedge their bets.
I think you're right. You know, there's a funny thing about this film, though. The very scenes that could have gone wrong the most easily, involving Christy McNichol and then Tatum O'Neal and their boyfriends, and whether or not they're going to go through with it or not, those scenes could have been handled very badly. They're handled fairly well.
You're right, you're right.
It's in the scenes that we think are going to be easy that the film collapses into kind of an Animal House summer camp sort of film, as you put it.
It shouldn't have been there. We wanted it to be a lot stronger, and it's a shame.
You know, there's one thing we ought to mention. This movie is rated R, which means that the kids who are the age of the people in the movie can't go to see it. And I'm trying to figure out why that would be. It's not because really of nudity or language or violence.
There's that one other thing called mature theme, which is, I suppose, what's going on here. Frankly, if I had to rate it, I'd say it's PG, because it isn't any rougher than a lot of PG pictures we see.
I give it a PG, too, and actually I suspect a lot of kids under 17 will probably get in to see this one way or
Theater
another.
owners really have sort of an open-door policy on R-rated stuff. It's not really legally enforceable. Anyway, we come to something quite rare, a children's book that has been made into an uncommonly good movie that'll appeal as much to adults, maybe even more to adults than to children. It's The Black Stallion, the very fine story of a young boy who almost drowns at sea but is rescued by a magical horse. Here's the scene at the beginning of the movie where the boy, traveling on an ocean liner with his father, is almost trampled to death as the boat explodes into flames.
Right there! I'll be back!
As you might expect, the horse saves the boy, pulls him to shore, and what follows are some magnificent scenes as the boy and the wild black stallion grow to trust each other and communicate with each other on the beach of an enchanting tropical island. This is remarkable footage. Eventually, they are both rescued. They return to the United States, where the boy considers racing the horse. He wants to continue their relationship, but first he needs the help of a trainer, and thank goodness, horse trainer Mickey Rooney is willing to listen to reason and come out of retirement.
Red cards, red cards. I've got too many red cards.
Henry, is the black fast?
He's fast.
Fast enough to be a racehorse.
Alec, that black is a desert horse. He's fast, all right. Sure, he's fast. He hasn't got any papers. Fast or not, I don't think they'd ever let him run.
Henry, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why did you stop training?
I got tired.
Do you think you'll ever try it again?
Sure I do. Sure. It's work. Worth it, though.
The photography in The Black Stallion is really breathtaking, and the story absolutely captivating. It's a little slow at times, a little corny at the end, but still, this is a remarkable motion picture, definitely one for the entire family. You know, you were touting Little Miss Marker as a family picture. It's not even in the same category. This is much, much better.
Obviously, I think that Black Stallion is a lot better than Little Miss Marker,
Good.
and in fact, I think it's one of the year's best pictures. It's a terrific film, and you know, one of the sad things about it is it's got the kiss of death, which is a G rating.
Yes.
Even kids don't want to go to G-rated pictures anymore. They think they're boring. This movie is not boring. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I've seen it twice, and I love it. I will say one thing, the first half of the movie is better than the second half. Those scenes out on the island that you talked about, the boy and the horse, the photography, those are magnificent, epic scenes. But then the problem is, and after the first half of the movie, the boy and the horse are rescued. It turns into another one of those horse racing movies. Who's going to win the big race? Yeah. And Mickey Rooney is the trainer. No wonder he got an Academy Award nomination. He's played this role about 6 times.
I think that that's why we like the picture, is that first half. And what this film does is the kid and the boy run along together on the beach. It really celebrates communication between animal beings and creatures on the planet Earth. I mean, it really gets down to that thing. It's very romantic, very special. It honors nature, it honors natural things. Very rare experience in the movies. That's why we like it so much.
Well, now how can we convince people to go see it even though it's rated G?
I don't know. It is tough. You got to trust us one time.
We liked it. Give it a chance, okay? Here's one we didn't like so much. Hide in Plain Sight is based on the true story of a man who lost his 2 children because of a federal program to provide secret identities for government witnesses in cases involving organized crime. And James Caan stars as an innocent bystander whose ex-wife marries a man who testifies against the mafia. Well, after the trial, the government secretly moves the witness from New York to Michigan, and Caan's ex-wife and his kids go along. Well, Caan is horrified to discover that even though he's the real father of these children, the government refuses to reveal their new identities. He can't find his kids. He tries everything. And in this scene, he reaches the end of his rope after a G-man clams up and refuses to tell him where his kids are.
I've been really getting a terrible run around from this guy down at Missing Persons. I mean, I keep calling the guy and he just...
Maybe I could finish my sandwich, huh?
I appreciate it, that you guys work hard. I just need a couple minutes of your time, and I'll walk you back to your office. Look, why don't I get a cup of coffee and you go ahead. I apologize. I'll be right back.
Whiskey salami.
See you, Ross.
Bye, Sam.
Maybe I should put him in bed. What kind of police department we got here, huh? Look, I want to talk to somebody. I bet you if I was crossing the street, there'd be 5 cops here to give me a damn jaywalking ticket.
Not my job. I'm sorry. What can I tell you? I got nothing to say to you.
Hey, look, I got 2 kids missing, and nobody wants to talk to me. Hey, what kind of is this? What am I gonna do? Shoot somebody? Hey! Stop it! Sorry.
Well, you can tell from that scene that Hide in Plain Sight is a serious movie about a real human tragedy, but unfortunately, it's also a very badly structured film that never creates any dramatic tension. This is, or should be, highly charged material, but the movie plods along with pointless scenes, rambling dialogue, and a performance by James Caan that's so highly mannered and uptight, there are some moments when we don't know what his true emotions really are supposed to be.
Yes, I couldn't understand why he bothered trying to give us this working-class man, a halting kind of Dies dem and dozers guy. I mean, this should have been played real strong, real big, like Walking Tall, Dirty Harry, or...
Death Wish by Charles Bronson,
yes,
maybe?
An innocent guy going against the government, and go get him, the government's bad, and go get him. I mean, it should have been a real thriller. No, we don't get that.
The problem seems to be on the level of screenplay and direction. They have a thriller here, you're absolutely right, and they just keep losing the point. They can't get us excited from beginning to end. Well, what's going to happen?
The obvious answer may be that James Caan tried to direct this picture as well as act in it for the first time. Maybe it was too much. Maybe if he had been just acting, he would have really concentrated on the performance and been a real superhero, which is what we want in this picture. Go get the government.
Hold on just a minute, Gene. Here's Spot the Wonder Dog to go get some bad films because it's time for our regular feature, Dogs of the Week, where we each pick the week's worst movies.
My dog this week is a reprehensible little shocker called Don't Answer the Phone. I know we usually make a lot of jokes in this segment of the show, but Don't Answer the Phone isn't the least bit laughable. It's a cheap thriller about a crazed rapist attacking a series of women, and that's all there really is to the film. A religious crazed nut who has an inferiority complex regarding his father simply attacks one woman after another. This film practically slobbers over its rape attacks. What's it trying to do? Turn on the sickies in the audience? Don't Answer the Phone is really just part of the message of this picture. Don't see this movie is more to the point. Not a good one, Roger.
Sounds really reprehensible,
Yeah.
Gene. Mine is merely bad. My dog this week is sort of distinguished, though. It's absolutely and without any question the worst vampire movie I've ever seen. It's called Last Rites, and it's about a perverted undertaker whose specialty is snatching the bodies of people who aren't yet quite dead. And then, needless to say, he sinks his fangs into their necks. Real gruesome stuff. The relatives of one of his victims begin to suspect something when the undertaker won't return the body of the deceased, and then there are all sorts of horrible rituals and a lot of gnashing of teeth. One neat thing about most vampire movies is that the vampires play by the rules. You know, only go out at night, avoid mirrors and crosses, look out for garlic, all that stuff. But the vampires in The Last Rites are a lot simpler. They just go after everything inside. And I say, more power to them, just as long as they don't try to do it in a sequel.
We'll avoid them both. So much for the dogs of the week. Now let's recap our reactions to the main movies on this show. We agree on 4 out of the 5. The only one we disagree on is Little Miss Marker. Roger liked it and says, yes, go see it. It's corny, old-fashioned fun. I say no, primarily because of Julie Andrews. She's just awful in this badly directed film. We think Simon, Marshall Brickman's first film, could have really used Woody Allen in front of and behind the camera, so 2 no's for Simon. As for Little Darlings, we both think it was trivial and shallow. Instead of seriously dealing with teenage sex, we get food fights. 2 no's for Little Darlings. Our favorite film on the show is The Black Stallion, the superb story of a boy and a magical horse. The Black Stallion is really the film to see this week. And we agree that Hide in Plain Sight is not very thrilling, with a weak performance by James Caan, who also directed the film. 2 no's for that.
Okay, Gene, so summing up, the one movie on this show we really stand behind is The Black Stallion, which is great, terrific entertainment for the whole family, including the adults in the family.
Yes, and one more thing. It's a lot better than Little Miss Marker.
Consider that to be a very low blow. That's it for this show. Next time on Sneak Previews, we'll review 5 more new movies, including Nijinsky, a biography of the great ballet immortal, Foxes with Jodie Foster as a streetwise Los Angeles teenager, and Serial, a comedy about modern living and loving in Northern California. And until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Funding for Sneak Previews was provided by this station and by other public television stations.